just it was a feeling that the residents, myself included, had about Dr. Klein. He was literally a father figure. He knew where you lived, he knew your situation, he knew whether you're single or married or, what have you. Not that a lot of people were married in those days because you couldn't afford it. You were in a hospital. You could feel his love and his protection. And I really needed that probably more than most because I didn't have anybody here. I was almost fresh off the boat and didn't have any friends, didn't have anybody. So it was fantastic that Dr. Klein took me under his wing and you know, basically took care of me in every way. And all the residents had that same feeling because there was a lot, and it's still a lot of hardship for the residents. They're like beaten up by every other service and sometimes the other faculty. Not with Dr. Klein as chairman. He had your back at all times. So throughout my residency, I had this feel of being protected and loved. Now, in terms of teaching, of course, everybody knows Dr. Klein is like the greatest peripheral nerve surgeon ever existed, and his legacy it speaks for itself. What I didn't understand at the time when I was a resident was how rare this opportunity, arise in any other program. I took it for granted that I scrubbed in and did like probably over 100 brachial plexuses, where most programs have not seen one. And all these fellows coming, they would just watch. They didn't really scrub in. I was doing the cases, not the fellows. So at the time, I didn't realize how fortunate I was to be in this program and to learn all these things. It came in handy later when I had to do them by myself. But it was like riding a bike. Once you've done a bunch, then you get used to it and you know how to do it. So again, without knowing that what I was learning was priceless. So there's that. And then, of course, it was the way Dr. Klein cherished the interactions between the residents. So, he fostered this sense of family that the residents had with each other. And I like to try to keep that spirit to this day. Like the LSU group acts more or less like a family. The residents know each other very well. They go for drinks. They know each other's spouses now that most people are married. And I remember, in conference, he would let us argue with each other. And I think I was a second year, and I did my first meningioma by myself, and it was a small one, a convexity meningioma, and I was able to go around the base of the tumor, and I took it out like a ping pong ball, and it wasn't attached to the brain. So the surgery was bloodless. So I said, meningiomas don't bleed. And, Najib Thomas, who was 2 years ahead of me in residency, started laughing. And to this day, he still cracks jokes about me saying that meningiomas don't bleed because they bleed a lot if you get into them. So, that's the funny part. But, I did my first one and I thought, this is it. This is as hard as it gets to do a meningioma, which of course is not true, but, part of the learning process. So yeah, Dr. Klein enjoyed the banter between the residents and although I've only been program director for 4 years now, I've always been part of the faculty and I've maintained and fostered this spirit of family among the residents. So the program directorship is just a title. I'm the same person as I was before, and the residents know it. But what I probably learned in terms of teaching from Dr. Klein was to get the residents to be autonomous, because that's how I was trained. So a lot of times it was baptism by fire. You would he would let you struggle until you figured out how to do things, how to, if you get in trouble, how to get out of that trouble, and so on. And I've embraced that, and I try to do that with the residents. It's not the same world, so they can never have the amount of autonomy that I had under Dr. Klein. It's just the way the world is now. I have to be present as faculty. I have to scrub in many times. So, the days when Dr. Klein would just walk out and let me do the case are long gone. That's not happening anymore. But I like to think that we still have one of the most autonomous teaching programs in the country. And that reflects in the way the residents, whenever they go to meetings, they talk to other residents and they're like, I do brain tumors by myself, or I do spinal fusions by myself, and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's definitely due to Dr. Klein's leadership and encouraging us to do as much as we could by ourselves and learn to be autonomous. And when I graduated, I tell you, I had, several practices. One of them was at Turo by myself at Turo Hospital. It was like a small private practice. But I was clipping aneurysms. I was doing like crazy posterior approaches, like to the skull base. I mean, I was just fearless. And that's because the training was awesome. And I like to think that it still is. So yeah, obviously, I am the only person in South Louisiana that does peripheral nerves. It used to be Wally Suleiman as well at Oxnard, but he left to become a congressman in Nigeria. So, I hope he does well. But yeah, I'm literally the only person doing complex peripheral nerves. I'm obviously nowhere near where Dr. Klein was, and I'm not gonna have fellows or anything. And I'm not at the level of Rob Spinner or Lynn Jacques or some of the other guys, Eric Sager and all that. But I do my part, and I like to think I do it well. I go to all the meetings. I meet with the peripheral nerve guys, and we have the Klein course over at the LSU ongoing every year. I think everybody committed to continue it. And that's Dr. Klein. Let's put it this way. Everybody who is somebody in peripheral nerves today has trained with Dr. Klein. And I think that says it all. Um, Rob Spinner, Lynn Jacques, I had the list of fellows, and I presented it at the CNS. Uh, you recognize all those names because they're all big dogs now. So that's Dr. Klein's legacy right there. It's 60 fellows who are now all professors at various institutions, not just in the States, but also in like Germany and France and Italy and all these places. And it's all because of him. I don't think if it wasn't for him, I don't think any of these people would have done peripheral nerves, or at least not this well. So um, honestly, he's like the Cushing of neurosurgery for